Hey everyone, this is Cheshire from Cheshire Plays Games, and today I bring you a Jhoira combo deck. That's right, so this is for the Brawl format. This is for 4-player, although it can be used in 1v1. It's a bit slow for that. A little disclaimer, because I don't know if I really have to put this in, but this deck was originally created for the streamer showdown that was on May the 31st for you people over in America, which is June 1st for us. It's already been gone, so thank you very much. Sponsored by Wizards. This deck tech is a favorite combo deck of mine because it mixes three things that I really love, which is artifacts, drawing cards, and is it like, other than Rashmi, this is one of my favorite commanders. Jhoira is fantastic. So let's dive right in. So last week I was sworn to secrecy by Wizards after I got an email about the Brawl Streamer Showdown to celebrate the return of 1v1 Brawl to MTGO. As you can imagine, I was more than keen to be a part of it. So I quickly fumbled with an email response, chucked it through saying something like, "Sign me up." Then I thought what decks I had to build, and decided to build something a little more fun and casual, because that's what Wizards were asking for. Bring something fun, something casual, something that shows off yourself and the format. So, combo. I mean, what's more fun than combo, right? Getting into it, it was Jhoira, Weatherlight Captain, which is a legendary creature human artificer for 1 blue, 1 red, and 2 colorless for a 3/3 body. Not terrible, but then whenever you cast a historic spell, you get to draw a card. That's right. So, artifacts, legendaries, and sagas are counted as historic. So, I mean, already we're seeing that, hey, you're an artificer. You draw cards off historic, including artifacts, so why not? Alright, so, you can find the deck list below. So let's get into the combo pieces. The first one we want to talk about is the Locust God. So, legendary creature god 4/4. For 1 blue, 1 red, and 4 colors. It is flying. Whenever you draw a card, you create a 1/1 blue and red insect creature token with flying and haste. For 1 blue, 1 red, and 2 colors, you can draw a card and then discard a card. And of course, when it dies, return it to its owner's hand at the beginning of the next end step. So, outside of exiling, it is hard to kill, it is hard to get rid of, and it is a great OTK, or one-turn kill with good old bug face. How do we do that? Well, we can either use Jhoira's ability later on in the game, or we can use Pull from Tomorrow, or Paradoxical Outcome. So we actually have a few ways that we can actually use this to get those gnats to eat your opponent's face off. Speaking of Paradoxical Outcome, we have Aetherflux Reservoir. Everyone probably remembers this one, right? There was a lot of talk about this being a big combo piece that never happened. So, for 4 colors, you get an artifact that reads, whenever you cast a spell, you gain 1 life for each spell you've cast this turn. Then you can pay 50 life, and Aetherflux Reservoir deals 50 damage to target creature or player. So this should be pretty easy to do in the late game, even if you don't have the Paradoxical Outcome. I mean, as long as you've got the Foundry Inspector, the Jhoira's Familiar, mixed in with maybe even a Mirage Mirror, which we'll get into in a second, because I do want to talk about that card a lot. You can actually combo off and kill your opponent, generally speaking, in about 1 turn. You can also use things like Saheeli Rai, and copy the Aetherflux Reservoir so you have 2 in play at the one time, which will speed things up dramatically. Speaking of Mirage Mirror, it can copy so much stuff. It is an all-star in Brawl, and I don't know why more people aren't playing it. I would be hard-pressed not to tell you to pick up a copy, especially in foil, because everyone loves foils but me, as many copies as you can, because of what it copies. It copies the important creatures, artifacts, and some enchantments, although, you don't want to copy something that attaches to a creature, because it will just fall off and vanish. I've done that during the pre-release. It was stupid of me, but I had to try it. But now I know how it works, so there's that. Speaking of combo, Paradoxical Outcome. Everyone remembers this, right? 1 blue and 3 colorless for an instant. Return any number of target non-land, non-token permanents you control to their owner's hands, and then draw a card for each card returned to your hand this way. So, first thing first, when you're set up, you can use the outcome to really nail it home by bouncing all of your artifacts back to your hand, then replaying them on the cheap and drawing so many cards that it should be a one-turn kill with big old bug-faced Locust God. Or, you can just pop your Aetherflux Reservoir for the win because you've played a whole bunch of artifacts. You're drawing cards from Jhoira, you're drawing cards from the Paradoxical Outcome. Hopefully by that time you've got enough to reduce your artifacts down to probably about 1 or 2 mana. You should already have a bunch of mana out anyway. If you've got a Saheeli Rai, then you can copy something like your Foundry Inspector or your Jhoira's Familiar to make things even cheaper. If you've got the Mirror, you can do the same, and you can basically just one-turn your opponent with free spells. Speaking of the Aetherflux Reservoir, here is our combo fetcher. Whirl of Invention is 3 blue and X for an instant. It also has Improvise, which means that your artifacts can help pay the cost of this spell for each one you tap. Yeah, so that reduces the cost of this dramatically. It is search your library for an artifact card with a converted mana cost of X or less, put it onto the battlefield, and then shuffle your library. Wow. This is an artifact tutor. This can fetch almost anything in your deck because it's mostly artifacts. Work can really save the day, and the only drawback is that triple blue casting cost. Speaking of artifacts, we've got Azor's Gateway. Now, a flipped Azor's Gateway is fantastic because based on how much life you have is how much mana it can produce, which can be a lot. So, Azor's Gateway is 2 colorless for a legendary artifact. We can pay 1 and tap it to draw a card, and then exile a card from our hand underneath it. And if we have cards with 5 or more different converted mana costs exiled under Azor's Gateway, then we can gain 5 life and transform it. When Azor's Gateway transforms, we can then tap it for X amount of one type of mana. So that would be colored. Blue, red. Well, we don't care about the others, so just blue or red. But imagine tapping that and having, say, I don't know, 40 life. That's 40 red mana. And that brings up our next card, which is actually part of a combo in this deck. Jhoira's Immolating Inferno. 2 red and X for a legendary sorcery. You can cast this legendary sorcery only if you control a legendary creature or planeswalker. To be honest, that's only a slight drawback. It is a drawback though, and it is a very real drawback, but it's only slight. Jhoira's Immolating Inferno deals X damage to each of up to 3 targets. So here's the thing. You can use it to just burn out players, their creatures, their board, their commander, if it's on the board, planeswalkers. This is a great removal spell. Yes, it's a bit tricky. No, we're not really playing enough to support it, in my honest opinion, but it's still good, and I don't think I want to take it out, just simply because by the time you want to play this, you've got a bunch of mana anyway, and you usually have something like the Scarab God on board. So yeah, burning out your opponent, that's fun, right? Next one up is the Antiquities War. There's so many combos in here, and there's just so much good synergy. So this is an amazing new saga for 1 blue and 3 colorless. On 1 and 2 tokens, you get to look at the top 5 cards of your library. You can reveal an artifact card from them and put it into your hand and put the rest on the bottom in a random order. For 3 tokens, artifacts you control become artifact creatures with a base power and toughness of 5/5 until the end of turn. Please note, they retain any other abilities like flying, trample, first strike, menace, etc. This is fantastic, especially considering that you can put it on and just walk out with 5/5s. Just look at all my junk. I'm gonna smash you with my junk. That doesn't come out the way that I thought it would. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. It's fine. So your opponent will be swarmed, and with the new life total reduction in Brawl down to 20, it's going to be real easy to kill your opponent off. Real easy. If this survives to Tier 3, then you're looking real good. Speaking of things that look real good, Saheeli Rai, my bae planeswalker. I love Izzet, and I love Saheeli. Plus this art is always going to be amazing, and I just want a massive print of this art, to be honest. I actually just want this as a large Planeswalker card to stick on the wall. 1 blue, 1 red, and 1 colorless for a Planeswalker. Sahili. Scry 1 for +1, and then it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Now this is great in multiplayer just to ping everyone, but it's not really that needed. The -2, create a token copy that's a copy of a target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact in addition to its other types. It gains haste, but then exile it at the end step. That's fine. This is what we use to help combo off. We can copy pretty much anything we need at the time, especially with our reducers like our Foundry Inspector or our Jhoira's Familiar, so do keep that in mind. The -7, however, where you get to search a library for up to 3 artifact cards with different names and put them onto the battlefield, we generally aren't going to use that because we're copying our stuff, but if we do get there, holy crap, that would be just basically 1 turn kill. We'll just be able to do it from there. Saheeli is great, and a lot of people really undervalued her to begin with, then they valued her highly, then they undervalued her again, and now in Brawl, she is an all-star. Next up is another win condition. I don't know if I'd really call this combo as such. I mean, it kind of is, and we'll get to that. So mechanized production is 2 blue and 2 colors for an enchantment aura. Enchant artifact you control. At the beginning of your upkeep, create a token that's a copy of the enchanted artifact. Then if you control 8 or more artifacts with the same name as one another, you win the game. This is pretty cool for 2 reasons. The first one is, remember the mirror? We can use that mirror, and we can make a copy of whatever we've copied with the mechanized production so that we can win a turn earlier. The other thing to do is keep pumping out Jhoira's Familiar or Foundry Inspector tokens. That's right, make everything free again. How amazing is that? If this enchantment goes unchecked, you just basically straight up win the game. It's great. How can you not love this? This is just great. Getting on to the next points, we want to talk about protection. No, not that kind of, that's not what I meant. No, stop it. Get your mind back on the magic. Padim, Console of Innovation, is a legendary creature, Vidalcan Artificer. The Vidalcan have always been legendary and great, and Padim is no different. For 1 blue and 3 colors, you get a 1/4. It doesn't sound great. Until you read the text of artifacts you control have hexproof, which is baller. So your opponent won't be able to touch your artifacts with their single removal spells. Their braids, etc. are not gonna happen. At the beginning of your upkeep, if you control the artifact with the highest converted mana cost or tied for the highest converted mana cost, draw a card. So Padim also gives you an extra card for card advantage. How cool is that? Just also remember that he is also an historic spell because legendary. So yeah, he nets you a card from his buddy Jhoira, and also allows for the blast to be played, the immolating... See? I keep calling it the wrong name. The immolating inferno to be played. The other thing is that it will lead into the next card. Khan's Temporal Sundering. 4 colors, 2 blue, legendary sorcery, as we discussed before, can only be played if there is a legendary creature or planeswalker on the field for you. Target player takes an extra turn after this one. Return up to 1 target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Exile Khan's Temporal Sundering. Okay, so not only does this bounce a threat, it buys you another turn to kill your opponent. Especially if you got Reservoir out, that's pretty big. Remember, you're in this for the long haul, so only cast this when you already have a Jhoira out to ensure you get the card draw. I mean, the card draw, that's not necessarily true, I guess, but it really helps a lot. You're in the long haul, why not? Next up is River's Rebuke. Return all non-land permanents target player controls to their owner's hand for 4 colors and 2 blue. This sorcery is great. It's a stop all end all measure, and you should use it when you can do the most damage to your opponent. I don't mean physical damage, I just mean bouncing their board. Remember, it bounces everything that's not a land. That means you can even get that nasty Carnage Tyrant off the field to give you 1 more turn. Speaking of bouncing, we have Brawl's Expertise. This is a sorcery for 3 colors and 2 blue. Return up to 3 target artifacts and or creatures to their owner's hands. Now, it doesn't do enchantments, which is really, really sad. I wish it did. It doesn't. Get over it, Al. I don't want to get over it. You may cast a card with a converted mana cost of 4 or less from your hand without paying its mana cost. Alright, so Brawl, Chief of Compliance may be banned, but his expertise remains strong. Especially in this deck, right? I mean, the fact that you get to bounce a few nasty creatures back to your opponent's hand, but also drop a free artifact on the field and trigger Jhoira to draw a free card. Damn, that is some straight up goodness. That is some straight up goodness. Now, what are we not running? We need to talk about Khan, the Scion of my wallet. So we're not playing the Scion of Urza because this deck doesn't really support it. Yes, there's a lot of artifacts in here. Yes, we could probably make a big construct with it. But at the end of the day, it's like, what, $40 online at the moment? That's ridiculous. That's a seal. That's a bunch of drafts. I'm not going to pay that. Plus, this deck doesn't support it in the way of we're not an aggressive deck. We don't need to do that, so we're not going to do that. The same reason that Traxos isn't really in here. We're not an aggressive deck. We don't need Traxos, the Scourge of Krug. And there's a couple other things that probably need to be in here, like Scavenger Grounds that I haven't yet fit into the deck. I mean, we'll get there. We'll get there. I mean, that's almost 3 tickets, but I'm willing to pay that. Okay, so thank you very much for hanging out and watching this deck tech. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know in the comments below what the next Brawl commander you want me to work on is. I'm happy to bring you more Brawl content as long as you like, subscribe, comment, share, and do the do-si-do, because that's what everyone does, right? Thumbs up. Just keep remembering to crack packs not for value, but for draft. I am Cheshire. Have fun.